to talk about a decision I know might surprise some people. We're selling a house and choosing to rent for the next 2 years. This wasn't a quick or emotional decision. It was very intentional and very numbers driven. And honestly, it's been very freeing. I want to walk you through the why, the numbers, and how this fits into the bigger picture of the financial plan for my family going forward. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Katie and I run the budget shop Purple Glimmer Budgets. You can find that on Etsy or also on my website purpleglimmerbudgets.com. On this channel, I like to talk about a lot of budgeting things, cash stuffings, and other real life financial decisions, including the messy ones, such as this one that I'm getting ready to talk about. This video is not advice. It is just me simply walking through the thought process that me and my husband went through to determine what we wanted to do on our next step when it came to our house. So we bought this house back in 2016. Our oldest had just turned 1. It was actually his birthday the day that we closed on this house. So when we bought this house, it's a 2-story house with a basement. It had 4 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and a half bath. And then the basement was unfinished and also had the rough-ins to add an additional bathroom in there. So that's what this house was when we first bought it. So when we bought this house, we had our oldest, and then I was also pregnant with our second child, and now we have 4 kids. So this house is not necessarily working well for us. When we bought it, we thought it would be a house that we could grow into and that would serve our family well. Unfortunately, we kind of underestimated some of the different layouts and the functionality of it going forward. We've also done some renovations to the house. We finished the basement. So that's where I'm at right now. This is my office area. We put in a bathroom down here. So it's a shower, a toilet, and a sink. So a fully functioning bathroom. We have a living area over on the other side. And so we added some space here. Also recently, we added a 5th bedroom in our second floor. There was like an open loft area. So we turned that into a bedroom. For a while there, we had put up like a large dog gate. And we were just functionally using it as a bedroom, but it didn't have the wall. I think our oldest daughter was in there for a while. So a couple of years ago, we had a contractor come in and throw a wall up in a closet. So now we have a 5th bedroom, and then our youngest daughter is actually in that room because that's a little bit on the smaller side. And so with her being the youngest, she doesn't need as much space. During that time, we also had our master bathroom renovated because I wanted to kind of add some tweaks in there just to kind of see if it would function a little bit better for us. We had a very, very tiny shower. We still have a small shower, but we were able to gain a few inches of room there. And then I swapped out your standard builder grade tub to a nice freestanding soaker tub. I love my bathroom. I'm going to probably miss that a lot, as well as my kitchen. When the lockdown happened and like things started going crazy, we were actually able to lock in a really good deal on redoing our kitchen. So we also did that. I switched out some of the layout there and I got myself double wall ovens, which I'm going to miss those as well. So we've done a lot to this house to try and make it work for us. And we're just coming to the realization that this house just isn't going to work. So again, we have 4 kids. So the only bathroom that makes sense for them to all share is the bathroom up on our second floor. And 4 kids in 1 bathroom, that's just not fun. So we do have an additional bathroom down here. But then I have to tell 2 kids that they have to go to the basement, which is down 2 flights of stairs anytime they have to use the bathroom or whatever. And it just doesn't really work out too much. So I knew going forward that as they got older, this house just was not going to function for us. So that meant we needed to sell this house and either go buy a house, rent a house, build a house. We weren't sure. Sorry about the jump in frame. My phone rang and that's where I film. And so it kicked off my recording. So I had to kind of answer it and then put myself in do not disturb. So hopefully my phone doesn't ring again while I'm filming this. So I believe I left off by telling you all the reasons why our house doesn't work for us. So I want to go through why selling makes sense for us. And the biggest reason why we decided we wanted to sell the house is for financial reasons. So we have accumulated a lot of debt that I want to get rid of over the next 2 or so years. As you know, if you've been watching my channel, my husband went 6 months underemployed, where he lost his job and then he had to take contract roles. And so he is the main provider of all of the money for our family. So that was a big hit. That also caused our debt to kind of increase. And so we want to kind of tackle some of the debt that we just want to get eliminated. And I feel that after we sell the house and over the next year or 2, we should be able to wipe out all of that debt. Now, this is not all of the debt we have. It is just kind of more of our expensive debt that I want just to have gone. And so I did some number crunching. Zillow has this amazing tool in which you can kind of claim your house, and then you can run some numbers to see what you look to walk away with after the transaction. So I went ahead and used that. I put in what I felt that our house could sell for, which was pretty on par with what our realtor has advised us that we can probably sell for. We are going to be hitting the market in March, which is the beginning of prime selling season for my area. So I have she gave me the value, what she feels our house is currently, and then she feels that the number that we want to sell for, we can easily get when March rolls around. So that was kind of good to know. Also in there, you can put what you still owe on the house. So I entered in what we have left on our mortgage, and then also what we have left on our home equity line of credit. Now you might be saying, why didn't we just do a refinance on our home equity line of credit? When it comes to getting a home equity line of credit, you can only max out to usually around 80% of your value. And so that would leave a lot of money on the table. So that's kind of why we did not explore that avenue. And we just want to kind of sell this and move on from it. And then also in that calculator, you can also enter in like a area for commission. So I entered in around 6%. So that should cover our seller's agent and then leave us some money on the table that if the buyers want us to compensate their agent, we can do so as well. I also factored in a 1% seller concession, so that kind of builds in there, as well as what I feel it's going to cost us to get the house ready for the market. I have been tracking all those expenses, so if that's something that you'd like me to kind of go through with you guys in a future video, definitely let me know down below, and I'm happy to do that. So after all of that is said and done, we look to walk away with anywhere between $70,000 and $100,000. So the $70,000 is around, if we sold it today, what she feels we could get for our home, and then the $100,000 that's the amount that we would really like to get for the house and what we would stand to walk away with. So that is a substantial amount of money and can make a very big dent towards clearing that debt that I would like to clear over the next 2 years. So we decided that we wanted to do that. Plus, we're also concerned that there might be a market correction. So we want to try to capture as much home equity as we can now before the market might slow down. So let's go over why we are going to be renting instead of buying another home. The main reason is, first, we couldn't qualify for the type of house that we wanted right now. We're just not in the place that we would need to be. But even ignoring that, trying to buy a house as you're trying to sell your house can be very complicated. And that's just stress that I didn't want to have to put myself through right now. And honestly, we're leaning most towards building our next home, so that way we can make sure it has everything that we want in it the first time and not have to go through the renovations. Because to me, mortgage debt is one of your more inexpensive debts to have. And so if I can wrap as much up into that rather than having to put it on some more expensive debt later on, which is what we've had to do with the renovations in our current home, that makes more financial sense. So the cool thing is that the rental that I found, it's very similar to my dream floor plan. It's just a little bit on the smaller side, and it has some features that I feel we would probably need. But this rental house can be an experiment to see, do we absolutely need those features, or is it stuff that we can kind of get away with not having? Because the cool thing about the rental is we went ahead and locked it in for 2 years. So that first year will let me figure out, do I like this layout? Do I like this house? Could I see myself living in a house like this going forward? And then it also allows us that first year to kind of get us in a situation where we can get our finances back in order and position us well to be able to afford the house that we would need to build. So that's kind of the thought process why we locked the rental up for 3 years. Also, another reason why renting makes more sense for us over the next couple of years versus buying is that in this home, we had quite a few homeowners insurance claims, and insurance companies do not like claims. They want you to pay money, but they don't want to pay you money. And so basically we got non-renewed by our insurance provider, and we've had to go on the state's high risk insurance, which it's fine. It covers what we need to, so that way if our house burned down, we would still have money. You have to have homeowners insurance when you have a mortgage, so it works for us. It's just quite a bit more expensive, and so we're probably going to have to stay on something like that over the next 2 to 4 years, because I want to say the look back period for a lot of homeowner companies from my research has been anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And so in 2 to 4 years, all of the claims will drop off. Now, do I regret making those claims? A little bit, but then not really, because our basement flooded twice. The first time the sub pump basically stopped working for just enough time to start flooding our basement. We have a sub pump. And so when it flooded the first time, we had a plumber come out and he said, your sub pump appears to be working fine. So we just kind of let it go. Well, almost 2 years to the day, it flooded again. And so at that point, we decided, okay, it's flooded twice. This is not cool. We don't like dealing with this. So we ended up replacing our sub pump, and then we also put in a battery backup, because I truly believe that what happened was our lights flickered both times, and I think it was just enough to make our sub pump not be able to keep up with the ridiculous amount of rain that was being dumped, because there was floods in the entire area. I mean, it was a crazy flooded time the first time, and then the second one was almost as bad. So we bit the bullet and we swapped out our sub pumps, and then we also buried our downspouts, because we found out that we had basically 2 roof lines dumping water into one area of the house, and I truly think that that's where it started overwhelming the sub pump, and the water kind of started creeping in. So it dumps it. The way the sub pump works is you kind of have a trench around your whole entire basement, and then it carries it to the sump pump, and then the pump pumps it out. Well, it was just getting so overwhelmed because it was dumping in one area, and so that's when it kind of started flooding, because our pump was failing. So we've addressed all of that, so the new homeowners shouldn't have that issue. And then our landscaping company went a little bit rogue when they were cutting and weed whacking our yard, and they hit our siding with the weed whacker. Well, I didn't want to go arguing with them, so I just turned in the claim to our homeowners insurance, which I knew they would subrogate, which means sue them to try and recover their damages. I'm like, let's just have them deal with it, because I just didn't want to deal with that. So that ended up working to our benefit, because we were able to completely reside our entire house. So in the grand scheme of things, doing those claims was to our benefit versus trying to just eat those costs and deal with them ourselves, just to be able to keep a traditional homeowners plan. So for the next, again, 2 to 4 years, we're stuck on these high market plans. Okay, let's go into some details about the rental. The first, we went ahead and secured a 2-year lease, which is amazing because it allows our family to have some stability and settle in and really tackle the debt, as well as evaluate our next step. The rental is actually very similar to my dream floor plan, so we kind of get the option to live in something and figure out if what we thought we need is what we really need. The house is a little bit smaller, so that's a bit of a bummer, but it also has some features of different items that I've kind of seen. I'm like, oh, well, that would be kind of cool to have. So now I can kind of test it before we actually commit to it. The house is a ranch house, a 1-story house with a walkout basement. Now, I've never lived in a house with a walkout basement, so in my mind, I think that's a good thing to have, but this will kind of also allow us to figure out if that is a good thing or if it's not. My husband did live in a walkout for a little bit, but he honestly just doesn't care. So I want to see if this is something that I like or not. Also, they screened in their back deck porch, which that's kind of nice to kind of see what we think of it. And they also epoxied their garage floors, which if we were staying in this house, that would probably have been the next project that would have been twisting my husband's arm on. The only thing is they did not opt for the non-slick surface, but I did some research. So if we were to buy the house off of them, that's something that you can kind of add on later with like a clear coat. So that's definitely something cool. It also helps me evaluate some of my must-haves that I have in my head for our dream home. We will be losing a half bath. There's no tub in the master, and then there's like no dedicated office space. So it kind of lets me see, are these things that we absolutely need to have, or can we live without them? It's going to come down to a financial decision when we run numbers versus building our dream home or potentially buying this house, because if we were to buy the rental, I already know that there's some renovations that we would need to do with it to make it what we would like. So that will definitely be a very financial driven decision we make in the coming years. So we're going to be in this house for 2 years. So my thought is for the first year, I'm really going to be evaluating the home. Is this the home that I could see myself living in, or what features is it missing, or anything such as that? Because once that first year hits, that's when we probably need to start having discussions about potentially building, if that's the route we're going. So that way we can coincide the finish of our build to around the time period in which our lease ends. So again, I've never lived in a home that has a walkout basement, but we live in Tornado Alley, and we've experienced like tornado weather, which we've had to come down and huddle in the basement. And the one bad thing about a walkout basement is that the main living area has windows all over it. So that is not a place where we can hang out and chill while we're trying to ride out the tornado thing. So we'll have to either huddle in the storage area or some other interior room, which there's not a lot of options with it being a walkout. So that's something that I'm going to be definitely keeping an eye on to see the trade-offs of having a walkout basement versus not having one. So that'll be kind of good to test out. So, and then another expense that we have in our current home that we won't have with this home is we have an additional storage unit that we pay on a monthly basis. We were paying about $183, but I believe that we just got a rent increase for that, and it's $190. And the reason why we pay this is because we have a utility trailer that we cannot fit in our garage. Our garage is completely and absolutely pathetic. It is a 2-car garage, but you can't fit 2 cars in it, and you can barely fit my car in it. So that's why we ended up having a storage unit. Plus, we just had so much stuff in this house. It was driving me nuts. So for my mental health, I'm like, we need to get some of this out of here. So that way I'm not like tripping over things and just stressed out with all the clutter. So that's another reason why we got the storage unit, which has come in handy trying to get our stuff out and ready for our house to hit the market. So now let's talk about our current housing numbers. So our mortgage is currently $2,230. We also have a home equity line of credit that we pay $430. And then our storage unit runs us about $190. So if I'm doing my math correctly, I want to say that is $2,850, which means that currently we're only paying $150 less per month than what our new rent will be. Our rent is going to be $3,000. Now we are going to have to carry renter's insurance. So on top of that, we're going to have to add about another $50 to $100 for renter's insurance. I'm not quite sure because it's not soon enough to when our lease starts for me to be able to run those, but that's about what it runs here. So yes, we're saving $150, but those numbers don't include additional costs for like maintenance of like big issues we could run into that we wouldn't be responsible for when we're renting. So in my mind, it's kind of essentially a wash. So again, the difference is that we're going to have renting versus our current situation. We're no longer going to have a mortgage. We're no longer going to have to pay for that home equity line of credit. We no longer will have to pay for that storage unit because there's enough storage in the basement in the unfinished area, as well as I forgot to mention, this house also has a 3-car garage, which is amazing because our utility trailer will definitely fit in that 3rd bay, and the 2-car bay, because we have a 2-car garage in our current home, is significantly bigger than what we have now. So we could probably fit both of our cars there, which would be amazing. Also, we'll no longer be having to pay the $6,000 to $7,000 of real estate tax on our current home. And then we also won't be on the hook anymore for that crazy expensive high-risk homeowners insurance, and any major repairs and stuff will no longer have to fit the bill because we'll be renting. So that made a lot of sense for us. And so here's where I want to get into some numbers about how lucky we are for the rental that we secured, because yes, $3,000 sounds like a lot, but when I compare it to what it would be if we tried to buy this house, we're saving a lot of money. So I ran a mortgage calculation, and I believe I saved a chart. So I'm going to try and throw that chart up here after I go through and edit this video to kind of visually show you the numbers. So I made some assumptions. Some of these are quite aggressive assumptions, but I wanted to kind of give myself an aggressive number to kind of compare our rent to. So these aggressive numbers are going to make the cost of buying a house like this a lot more affordable than what it might be in reality. So it gives me the best case scenario to compare a rental to. So under the assumptions, if we were to buy a house similar to this, we would probably only put 5% down. And then I went ahead and assumed a 5.25% interest rate, which honestly, I think that's a very aggressive interest rate. I don't think interest rates have come down that low, but that is probably the interest rate that would get me and my husband to be intrigued to re-enter the housing market. So that's kind of why I used that. And then I also ran a quote on what our homeowner's insurance would be for this home using the state plan, which we would have to do, just to kind of give our current situation to show why renting is definitely the best option for us now, even if we could have qualified for a mortgage for this house. So when I run through that, the estimated mortgage payment to buy a home similar to the home that we're going to be renting would be $3,962 per month. Now that is $2,492 of principal and interest, $960 for real estate tax, because to buy a home similar to this home or a home that would work for us, we're looking at anywhere between $10,000 to $12,000 in real estate tax. Illinois has insane real estate tax. I hate it, but It's more affordable. Like the houses cost less where we're at in Illinois than what they would be in Missouri. And so it's kind of a wash between the two. So we just kind of deal with it. And then it also includes my $500 estimate for the high-risk homeowners insurance, as well as the $10 HOA fee that we would have to pay if we bought this house. So that comes out to $962 more per month to buy a house like this than it is to rent. So we lucked out a lot. And that's also why I don't feel guilty renting versus buying, because a lot of people will throw at you when you're renting, well, you're just throwing money away. Well, actually, we're not doing it this way, because I ran the numbers even deeper. So over our 2-year rental period, we will be paying $23,088 more in just monthly payments. Plus, if we were to buy this house, that 5% down payment would have cost us $23,750. And then after 2 years, we would have only paid the principal down $12,495. So we wouldn't have a ton of equity in the house over the course of this 2 years. So if we ignore the down payment and just look at the renting, and then we subtract the principal that we would have at the end versus how much we paid extra in monthly payments, we're looking that renting would save us $11,225 over the course of 2 years. Now, if we go even further and we take $2,400, that's my high estimate for renter's insurance, we're still ahead $8,825. And again, this is me using very aggressive interest rate. So it's just a no-brainer. Renting is definitely a better thing for us given our situation. I also believe I assumed the amount that they paid on the house back in 2022, which is not realistic. But again, I wanted to give myself the most affordable number to compare, just to kind of see. So if I used more realistic numbers, these numbers would be even larger of a gap. So we'd be saving even more money renting this house versus trying to buy it. So beyond just the cost savings of renting this house versus trying to buy something similar, this gives us time to kind of reset ourselves financially and pay down our debt, and then also decide if we want to build a home from scratch or if we want to either buy the house or renting or something a little bit similar, to see if there is a big gap in the market between new build and then pre-existing. And then it also allows us the opportunity to test out these features that I think we'll like, to see if we truly like them or not. And again, if we absolutely love this house, we can have the conversation with the homeowners to try and buy it at the end of our rental period. And at that point, we will definitely have ourselves in a financial position to be able to buy this house. They also have told us that if we wanted to extend the rental beyond 2 years after the lease is up, they're definitely open to that as well. So we just have a lot of options renting this house that we wouldn't have if we stayed in our current home or if we tried to buy something else. So I know renting a home after you've owned a home is not necessarily the traditional path, and it doesn't make sense for a lot of people, but personal finance is just that. It's personal. My budget's not going to work for you. Your budget's not going to work for me. You're not going to value the same things in a budget as I do, and vice versa. So your budget has to be kind of tailored to you, your thoughts, and your situation. So for us, renting gives us the flexibility we need, the time, and then the peace. So that means more to us than trying to have a home and have that big financial asset growing for us. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you were in a similar situation to mine, would you rent for the financial reset, or would you push through and try and either stay in the home or buy something that worked better for you? Let me know. I would definitely love to hear your opinions. Would you guys like to see some of my real numbers of the debt that we're planning on tackling over the next year or two? Drop me your thoughts and comments below. I definitely love to read them. And if you enjoy transparent money conversation or budgeting videos such as this, don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing so you don't miss my content going forward. And I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.